Hi folks, hope you're okay. We're just doing a video on an open heart message to a skeptic, John McDropout. I've done one video, I want to do another one because he's written in response to me, and I just wanted to show love and kindness to him and just dialogue with him. He writes, Cornelius Van Til in our discussion of him states himself that he was indoctrinated from an early age, and admits that Princeton was a heavily theological school during his attendance. In a section of his essay where he is deliberately highlighting his own education, it was perfectly valid for us to take him at his word when discussing that passage. It was not perfectly valid because you misrepresented him, John. You misrepresented him. You made it look as if that was just his education, but it wasn't. He went on to Princeton University, and he went on to do brilliantly there, and he went on to be an expert in Hegel. And the whole ethos of what you were saying is, did he or didn't he have a position where he was able to critique his own position? And well, he definitely did at Princeton University. Being an expert in Hegel, he definitely did. And that is important, that if you're going to talk about someone's position, that you need to have a wider background. Just reading one text is not enough. You need to make sure that you grasp the person's context. And if you're studying theology or any subject, you need to make sure that you know the context, and you need to know the context of Cornelius Van Til and his history, and you didn't do your homework there, you, Ozzy, and your people. As for answering tough questions, ask yourself this: am I willing to answer the questions I put to others? I try to keep this in mind before I inquire anything of anybody. Well, I don't doubt that, John, but I seriously believe there are not tough questions put on your shows. They are questions that suit you as a group, but you don't have any theologians on your shows that will rigorously and vigorously critique you. You have one person, but you don't have anybody trained in theology who will critique and put you under the spot in a very academic and disciplined way on the topic. So you're throwing out softballs and receiving softballs. You're not getting really challenged as you think you are. The discussion that you and Ozzy had and others had on Greg Banson and the resurrection sounded all very good and academic, but the presentation of Pauline theology was extremely bad from Ozzy and from the people who were discussing it. It was bad, it was amateurish, and you didn't deal with it in a proper way, and you misrepresented Paul. Ozzy made an argument about people would believe in the resurrection because Herod believed that Jesus was John the Baptist, and from that one argument he then goes on to make an argument about general belief about the resurrection by the Jews. But if one studies the texts, ancient Judaism, if you study N.T. Wright's Jesus and the Son of God, which he proved pretty conclusively what Jews believed about the resurrection, then Ozzy wouldn't have made a really crass, unscholarly statement. But you didn't have anybody there trained in that area to put tough questions to. So you're throwing out softballs and receiving softballs, John. Concepts of nihilism, especially in the global sense you seem to apply, I can stress this enough, is not the basis of skepticism, nor is its position inevitable outcome. I'm not saying nihilism is the basis of skepticism. I'm saying skepticism leads to nihilism. There's a difference there, John. Nor is the position inevitable outcome. It is an inevitable outcome because it's the condition of the reality that you're in. You only assert this. I don't assert it. It's there for you to see before your very eyes. And don't point out how a position of skepticism would lead anyone to a position of global skepticism. It's very simple, John. Reality is there before you. Or to the second logical step leading to a position of global nihilism. Very simple. Reality is there before you. The methodology of questioning all observed phenomena to determine the likelihood of their reality may lead to a conclusion that no experience has ultimate or universal meaning, and may even question the certainty of basic assumptions. But we wouldn't come to this conclusion without meaningful intention leading to the analysis itself, refuting any possibility of a universally nihilistic perspective. Yes, that is true. 100% true, John, but that is not your logical position. The fact that it shows that you can, questioning whether we are nihilistic, is in that position, is in that flow you are being intentional, is a direct contradiction of your own position of evolution. Think about it. Intention is not the same as evolution. Yeah? Evolution is environment and chance mutation. Intention is something ordered. It's something structured. It's something purposeful. And is not consistent with your evolutionary perspective. So if there is intention, where did that intention come from? Intentionality implies more than what you can account for in your evolution, and it implies more than what you can account for your skepticism, and it implies more than what you can account for your nihilism, which is your position. So intention puts us in an area where we have to think on a bigger scale of where this intention has ultimately come from. The Trinity, if you read Van Til article on the Trinity, it gives the answer to why we have that intention. Subject is not a pejorative, and subjective is not a pejorative. It is, in the sense that if you're subjective and you don't have an objective base for your subjectivity, because we all have subjective ideas, but there are objective things as well. But if you don't have an objective base, then subjectivity is a bad thing. And skepticism leading to nihilism seems a straw man built through fear mongering, intended for you to have an easy target. Nope. It's an absolute basic logical conclusion of your own position, John, because reality bites. To believe in something is not dichotomous choice, but a continuum of conviction. And to attach question marks to basic assumptions only strengthens our understanding and convictions. Besides, many theistic thinkers have advocated skeptical inquiry as a necessary to main theological rigor, but I digress. My friend, if theologians encourage skepticism, then they are not theologians, and they are not good theologians. Skepticism cannot be done without faith. That is a fact. And all skeptics have some faith. There is no such thing as pure skepticism. Nihilism, it would seem to me, Jason, will be the end result of theistic faith. If nothing you do here on earth matters, and nothing you can do or say or think except pure belief in Jesus can have ultimate meaning, how has your theological basis kept you falling off the other side of the cliff onto the rocks of theistic global nihilism? John, because our position is consistent with our presuppositions and it's consistent with evidence, John. That's how we know we're not going to fall off the cliff of nihilism, global nihilism. Doesn't the infinity stretching out before you make the infinitesimally small time we spend here an insignificant milestone in comparison, unnoticed in the vastness of your theologies? eternal destination? No, because our theology teaches us we live in a moral universe, and what we do here counts, and Jesus was a person, our model, practical, living in this world, doing good and caring for those around him, and that is our model. And so what we do here is significant because we are valuable in God's eyes, and because we have a model of how we should live, and everything that we do, because we live in a moral universe, is not going to be forgotten. Time we spend here is significant in comparison, noticing the vastness of your theology. Doesn't your God's infinite wisdom being granted to you after death make seeking knowledge of any kind here on earth a pointless endeavour? No, because Christianity is a holistic thing, John. It's faith, it's love, and it's reason. We are human beings, and God inspires us to encourage us to use our minds and to learn and to grow in knowledge. Sorry, there's a fly there. God encourages to grow in knowledge. The Apostle Paul was very learned. He said to Timothy, bring the parchments. Christianity is not intellectual. It encourages to grow in knowledge, but it's holistic. It's growing in knowledge and also in ethical behavior. It's growing as a whole person holistically. You're going to figure it out soon enough anyways, right? No, I think life's a journey, and eternity will be a journey. We're not going to know everything even in eternity, John. Answering tough questions can be a two-way street. Exactly. But we answered more tough questions than you answer as atheists. Granted, there are some presuppositionalists who will not face tough questions sometimes. Granted, I don't disagree with that, but that's not true presuppositionalism. People, the academics like John Framer, people like that, and Van Til in his day would answer tough questions. But generally speaking, I don't think atheists answer the tough questions. They're always ready to throw it to the theist about the Bible and this, that, the other, but when it comes to you facing tough questions, you find that very hard to deal with as atheist. You will fudge and fudge and fudge and equivocate and try to get out of those tough questions. But it works both ways. I'm willing to face tough questions. I've had tough questions thrown at me by atheists. But John, are you willing to face the tough questions? And reading your piece, it seems to me that you're not willing to face those tough questions. It's talking about reality, right, John? If you're an atheist, atheism is supposedly an absence of belief in the existence of, a lack of belief in God due to a lack of evidence, yeah? But there's a problem with that statement, John. You see, I may not believe in God as an atheist because I don't think there's any evidence. But the fact that there is men and women, boys and girls, there are trees, there is the sky, there is this big conglomerate of reality. The fact that my atheism does not say anything about that, but says something about some supposedly magical God, proves that my position is not the real thing. Proves that atheism is not true. Because atheism is not a positive worldview that is saying something about the totality of reality and the particulars of reality. Whereas Christianity is saying something about every major part of the particulars of reality, about boys and girls, men and women, about trees, about the earth. It's saying things about these things, but it also says something about the grand scale, and it fits reality, whereas your position doesn't, as far as I'm concerned, because it's a negative position feeding off theism. Christianity is a positive position. It has its own foundation. It has a gospel about Jesus, and it does not feed off atheism. It does not feed off skepticism. It has its own position, and it gets on with it. But atheism cannot exist without feeding off theism. So it's not the truth. Alright? Christianity can survive without atheism. Atheism cannot survive without Christianity.